get started if our big crowd is ready. I'm Vanessa Moore. I am the education coordinator for the City of Spencer and Northern Plains Regional Planning Area, and this is Dan Chism. He is the superintendent at the landfill over in Grettinger. So today we're going to we'll be talking about Recycling 101. So we're going to kind of give the brief overview about all the things we do and why we recycle, and then we'll get into kind of what type of items we can recycle here locally in Spencer. So we'll kind of go from there. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the waste hierarchy. Really the main part of where we want to start with waste reduction is reducing waste, right? So before we even think about recycling, what are we doing to stop purchasing things that are non-recyclable, or we could use something reusable instead of something over and over again, or single-use items. Then we want to talk about how we can reuse items instead of purchasing them, and then that middle part is what we'll talk about here at the end of what we can do for recycling. And then there's another little piece about recovery. That's the types of things we do with computers, metal, glass. All of those things can be recovered and then made into new things. And then disposal would be the smallest part of the triangle, and that's what we're putting in the landfill. So we want that piece of the triangle to be the smallest piece that we're putting back into the earth, because we know that takes a long time to decompose. So basically, the best way to deal with trash is to not have any to begin with, right? So we want to reduce the amount of trash we throw in our in our garbage containers. We want to avoid any unnecessary packaging. So when you're going to the store and looking for items, especially things like your vegetables, do they really need to be repacked or packaged and cut up for you? If that is something that's important to you or saves you time, yes, do that and then try to recycle the items. If it's something that isn't a big deal, let's try to reduce that plastic and not purchase it in the first place. Same with things like water bottles, single-use items. Just being cognizant of thinking about how you can reduce that purchase. And then lastly on that one is to choose durable, reusable products as well. So if you have a water bottle, I see Anne has a water bottle here. Instead of having the plastic one, she brought a reusable one. So reuse, right? So we can reuse items to save energy and money. We can prolong the item's useful life, and we can extend those items as well. So things like containers and jars can be reused. Household goods can be donated. We have great places here in Northwest Iowa to take places. There's Cherish up at in Milford. There's Goodwill here. There's Many Hands as well. They all take items and reuse them, and that's a great way to get rid of things and not have to throw them in the trash to begin with. So every day we use products from recycled materials, and we want to increase our recycling. So you can take your cans, your newspapers, your milk jugs, all of those types of things here in Spencer in your blue recycling container and take those out to the curb, and then the City of Spencer takes those and we ship them off to a recycler, and they recycle those items for us. If you have glass items, those items can be taken to the purple bins at Hy-Vee and Walmart. We don't have a commingled blue recycling container for glass, so that always should be separate. That causes a lot of damage to the machinery. It causes health issues or damage to people as well if they're working with the materials and stuff like that, and it really contaminates the entire load of recycling when we have glass shards in there as well.
And the times they don't take aerosol cans, then where do they go?
The aerosol cans, those would go to the household hazardous waste in the transfer station, so that's another good point. So over the last 10 years, over 343,000 tons of recycling was diverted from Iowa landfill. So that's a great way that we're already doing things in the last 10 years to increase recycling and decrease the waste that's going into our ground here in Iowa, because we don't just ship it off to another country, it stays right here locally. So another thing you can do is composting. We don't have a compost a program here in Spencer or with Northern Regional Planning Area, but this is something you can do at home. You can compost all your vegetables, you can compost scraps, leaves, grass, all of those types of things can be put in a box and put outside and composted and turned into dirt, and you can reuse them. Or we use the dirt in your garden or your flowers, all of those types of things, different pots and stuff. So,
But we do a mulch program, right?
we do, yes, we do the mulch
Yeah.
program. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
That's over at the tree site,
Right.
and you can drop things off and you can pick things up there too, as far as mulch. When we talk about recovering, this is where I was talking about, we do the computers, different types of e-waste can be collected and recycled, and Americans throw away about 55 billion in e-waste material annually. So by recycling 1 million phones, more than 35,000 pounds of copper, 33 pounds of palladium, and 772 pounds of silver, and 75 pounds of gold can be recovered. So there's quite a lot of precious metals within all our phones and our computers and all of those things. So instead of throwing them in the trash, it just makes a lot more sense to recycle those items. They can pull out all of those precious metals and reuse them in different things. That also decreases the amount of drilling and things that we're doing in the nation as well to create new things. So.
And we take that to the transfer
Right.
station?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
take that to the transfer station as well. Some of the items do have small fees attached to them. If you go to our website, you can kind of look through, all the fees are there, so you can kind of know ahead of time, you know, what you're looking at. Most things are between $5 and $10 to recycle. That helps cover the cost of not only staffing, but sending it to the place to get disassembled and all of that stuff. So that's where that cost kind of comes from. One of the main reasons we don't want to put electronics in your waste basket or the landfill is there's a lot of lead that are in these materials as well, and we know that lead is very dangerous for all of us. When we know that the landfill is in Grettinger and we're close to water sources, we have methods to contain those things, and Dan will talk about that in a little bit. But there's different ways that this stuff can leach out into our environment here locally. A lot of people hunt and fish and do all these outdoors things, so we want to try to limit having contaminants within the landfill to begin with.
And then batteries too, we've had, not several, but a few fires from like the, say, batteries in remote control cars, or, I mean, it's just amazing. You'll be out there and they'll just explode and instantly start a fire. So yeah, batteries are a huge hazard too for us.
I may be jumping ahead, but what do we do with our everyday household batteries, our AA's and AAA's?
So what we recommend people do is kind of collect them. If you have a box or something,
Yeah.
collect them, and then when you've got it, the box is full, then take them over to household hazardous
Yeah.
waste, and
Transfer
they'll,
station.
in the transfer station, and they will get that taken care of for you.
Thanks.
All right, so I'm gonna kind of turn this over to Dan a little bit. And he can kind of talk about the landfill, and that is a picture of our landfill in Grettinger.
So the city of Spencer bought the landfill that we currently own back in 2002. So we've had it almost 20 years. We have like about 290 acres, and we're set up for, basically we're set up for like 50 years out, planned ahead for construction of cells, and that's how long we'll take garbage and waste, but it'll be longer than that. I think that's currently where we're at. I have three full-time employees, couple part-time employees, and we take in on average, I'd say 300 to 400 tons of garbage a day. So it's more than you'd think. It really surprised me when I first started working there. We're just about full of our last cell. We started a cell in 2000, and we're just going to fill it now. We're just about done, so we're going to start digging another cell next year. To dig a cell is almost, it's probably close to $1 million now. It takes almost a year to get all the engineering and everything done, so it's quite the process. But as you see how it's set up, when we dig a cell, we have a bottom clay liner, that's our base. Then we have a fabric type of plastic type of material liner, then P-rock, and then we have these leachate collection pipes that run through the base. It's kind of like drainage, so it shows there that it goes to a treatment plant. Ours is not. We have a big lagoon, it's like 650,000 gallons, and we haul all our leachate, which is all the water that runs through the garbage, to the city of Spencer, and we use it, run it through our wastewater treatment plant, and then it goes to the river. But so then daily, you can see we have like say a 30-foot by 30-foot working face. You'll see what that blue garbage truck is. People come in, dump their garbage on that slope, and we run over a couple times with our big compactor and do that several times a day and just keep building that up. We don't produce any methane gas really because we use a lot of product from Shine, which is called auto shredder residue. We use that for our daily cover, so with that, we don't produce much methane, hardly any methane at all, so we don't have that problem. Yeah, and that's about that's all I can tell you about landfills. Any questions? Now, I mean, recycling is it's a tough gig. I didn't want to recycle long until I started working here, and the first day I was out packing some garbage, I saw all the plastic and cardboard moved around, and I thought, if I'm not going to recycle, it's pretty sad. So I mean, it's a process. It's a job to do it, but it's very rewarding. Once you start doing it, it seems like you just keep this constant, keep going and going. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like a game.
It is.
How little garbage can you put out on Sunday night,
Right.
you know?
All my coworkers, I'm constantly picking like plastic bottles out of the garbage. Like, why are you doing that? I mean, every little bit helps. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah. We kind of do that at our house too. Now that it's just my husband and I, we try to do the one bag for a week. So one bag of garbage that includes like waste baskets in the restrooms, the regular household garbage, anything outside, those types of things. So it's kind of fun to play that game too.
Yeah. And so I should have said, we service all the city of Spencer in the rural area, Palo Alto County, except for West Bend, all of Emmet County and the towns in Emmet County, and Pocahontas County, except for Gilmore City and Bradgate, and then the city of Bode, city of Whittemore, and then we're taking quite a bit of stuff.
All right, so what should you throw, what can be recycled? So this is a great time to ask questions. We'll try to answer them. If we can't answer them today, we'll have you contact Tom, and I've got some business cards if anybody wants to reach out to the transfer station as well. But really, there's really 3 basics to recycling. So the main thing is recycle all your empty plastic bottles, cans, paper, and cardboard. If you start with that, if that's the only thing you do for recycling, that's a great place to start, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just be cognizant of what you have and what goes in the garbage and what goes in the recycling. I was really bad at recycling before I had this position, so to get myself to be compliant, I bought another garbage can.
Yeah.
It's just as pretty as the regular garbage can, and I have little magnets that I can put on each one. I feel like it works okay in our house, and that way I have that recycling bin right there, and as soon as I'm done with it, if I'm cooking or whatever, I can just throw it right in there. And then, of course, the garbage is the garbage. I've been to a couple hotels now that their waste baskets in the hotel themselves have 2 different slots as well for recycling and garbage too. So trying to start to think about that as well, and I've thought about doing 2 in my restroom as well, just so it's easy.
I find that the easiest, the 2.
Yeah.
You make a decision as you stand, rather, I gotta later on put this somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah, that just works easier.
Absolutely.
Later on.
Yep.
And they've made it easier. I mean, you don't have to take a bottle cap off anymore. I mean, you can
Right.
do your pizza boxes. I mean, it has gotten
I
easier.
know, that's huge.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I think.
I do too.
Yeah, I was excited about it.
Yeah.
And how clean do you need, I mean, obviously dump the liquid out and the
Right.
pizza box.
Just like the,
Scrape the food.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
for and we'll talk about this a little later too, but we can skip over it. But for the pizza boxes, I usually say if it's more than 25% greasy, throw it out or cut out the greasy parts and then try to save the good parts. If it's less than that, then just throw it in your recycling. They can do a lot more now with the equipment they have, so it's not such a big deal. But that takes us to number 2 is keep food and liquid out of your recycling. So we just want to try to keep things as clean as possible because they are going back to a production facility where people are handling it, where it's going through conveyor belts, all of those types of things. It is nice to have some of that kind of rinsed out, but dry. And then empty your recyclables directly into your blue cart. So don't bag your recyclables. That just creates more waste and we're just wasting another bag for that type of thing. Do make sure that the lid on your recycling bin is in working condition. If you have issues, you can always call the transfer station. You can purchase a new bin as well. But that way, at least the items don't blow out if you have a working lid. So that's kind of something to be aware of. So we kind of just did talk about that, about not bagging your items. We kind of talked about this before the program started, but we'll kind of go over it again. Spencer no longer takes plastic bags or film in the recycling bins. There are a couple options here in town. Hy-Vee and Walmart both have bins right inside their front doors that you can take these items. I'm not sure if they take any of the mail packages or the film, but a lot of places do, and if you ask, they'll let you know if they take them or not. So plastics, you can recycle plastics just like empty bottles, jars, jugs, and tubs by their shapes. I don't tell people to necessarily look at the arrows because that doesn't always tell us what we can recycle. They're getting better about changing the labeling system in the United States as far as telling you, what goes in which recycling, if it can go in commingled, if it has to be in a specific bin or those types of things. So I think that'll get easier in the next few years to kind of navigate, but typically just because it has the arrow for recycling doesn't mean we accept it locally here in our thing. So if you have a question, it's best to call out to the transfer station and ask.
I've kind of been told with like plastics, if it's wider at the bottom and narrower at the top, then you can recycle it. I mean, it's kind of a...
So like, someone asked me earlier, like a solo cup, like a red solo cup.
So you have the opposite, so...
That'd be the opposite,
Right.
is that?
I'd say no, but...
I would say no on that one as well. But again, I don't know that for a fact. I would check with the transfer station. So I would definitely look into that for you. But some of those thinner plastics just aren't salvageable with the system that we use. So there's just a lot of variety. So it's not an easy answer. You can also recycle your metals here in Spencer. So any of your canned goods, you can also put tin, aluminum, and steel in there. You cannot put any metal aerosol cans in there. Those would need to collect and then take them out to the hazardous transfer or the hazardous household waste station there at the transfer station. And you don't have to remove your labels either.
No.
So.
Oh yeah, because you used to have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So the same thing with those, just rinse them out, make sure they're fairly clean, let them dry, and then you can put them in their recycling bin. Papers, we take all kinds of papers. We take newspaper, magazines, books. We do take, I do believe we ask that you cut the binding off of those before you recycle them. Or I hear Rotary is having their pickup pretty soon. I think it's in July.
They do, Rotary does their pickup at SMU the second Friday of the month, 9 to 3.
Perfect, so,
Yes.
great. That's
What
another.
about your magazine is shiny? Can you recycle shiny?
Yeah, any kind,
Oh, okay.
any of those papers you can put in there. The only thing you don't want to put in there is soiled or wet paper. So like if you had the greasy pizza box or the greasy, a piece of paper or that kind of thing, you don't want to put that in there. Let me go back. Oh, why am I not going back? One of the other things with the paper, I get a lot of questions about mailers. If they have the plastic see-through section on the mailer, you can still recycle those. Those get removed. They're very easily removed in their system, so you can recycle those mailers. You cannot recycle the mailers with like the bubble wrap stuff built into it, that plastic stuff. We don't accept that. There are some companies that do take that. I want to say Target maybe might take those back. I can't remember, but you can look online and find those. TerraCycle, if you have TerraCycle plastic type materials, you can actually request to send them that for free, and you can recycle it that way if you want to recycle those items and not throw it in your trash. So cardboard can also be recycled. So those are all the things like your cereal box, the box your butter comes in, your Jell-O box, all these types of things, all your snacks that your kids are eating this summer. Those can all be recycled. So just remind the kids that those can go in the recycling bin. And then if you can, we ask that you flatten your cardboard and make room for
Yeah, just makes a lot more room.
makes a lot more room to kind of squish it down.
Right.
Here's where I was talking about those flex packaging. So a lot of these are that TerraCycle, I think I'm saying that right, I hope, type material. It's like a layered plastic material, and so we think we can rinse them out and recycle them, but again, we can't recycle them locally. Chip bags actually have a layer of metal within that bag, so they can't separate out the plastic from the metal from the other materials that are in there, so that is also straight to the trash. So this is kind of where I like to say too, instead of buying the little bag, the little snack size bags of chips, maybe buy the family size and reuse a different kind of bag that you can purchase somewhere else that can be rinsed out and reused, that type of thing, if you want to get the kids snacks and stuff like that. That just cuts down on that waste. Some cups cannot be recycled. There are a few cups in town from retailers that are recyclable. The way that you can kind of tell if they are or aren't is if they have like that thin coating of like wax or plastic on the inside. You can usually tell that way, or if they're complete cardboard, kind of feel it a little bit. If you don't know, just throw it in the trash. Something like this is going to decompose or compose, whatever, pretty quick, more quickly than some other items. So that's not a bad thing. The plastic lid should go in the trash. That is not recyclable. That's one of those other plastics that we don't recycle here.
So like the waxy milk and juice cartons, those are not recyclable?
Some of those are, so I know it's just it's so convoluted, but most of those ones, those types of materials are. I'm not sure what the difference is, what the difference is with those, but we do accept those ones.
Okay.
One of the main culprits of contamination within our recycling system here in Spencer is polystyrene and foam. We get a lot of those types of styrofoams in our recycling, unfortunately, and when they break up, they release little beads. Like if you've ever seen when you kind of break up like the stuff you get in your, when you buy a TV and you break it up and there's all these little white beads everywhere, that goes into the recycling, and unfortunately that contaminates the entire load. And I think in the last 2 months we've had 2 loads of recycling that we have had to dump into the landfill because of the foam inside of there. Same with glass. You want to keep the glass out, it does the same thing. It breaks up into shards and then it contaminates the plastics, everything, and you can't separate some of those things back out from those materials. So that's a big no-no. Just put that straight in the trash and then try to, of course, purchase things that don't have foam or styrofoam in them. Ask the cafe that you eat at if they're using styrofoam to maybe switch to a different material. There's lots of cardboard options. Yeah.
Or bring your own container.
Or bring your own container, yeah.
You say put the glass in the trash?
The glass can either go in the trash, unfortunately, or I would recommend that you put it in the recycling bins over in Hy-Vee and
The glass
Walmart.
recycling bin.
Yep. Sorry if I misspoke there. Yep.
Okay, sorry, another question.
Yeah.
Do they take green glass or no? Not
Every color.
I think every color.
glass.
Glass is
Yep.
blind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we use a company out of Kansas City to recycle the glass. It's called Ripple. So you can go to their website too, and they will,
Okay.
and they have a full list of what they accept.
Because he said there was a sign on the thing that said we don't accept green glass.
Excuse
Well,
me.
yeah, I think we accept all of them and we'll take a look
I'm
at
not
it.
challenging you.
No.
Challenging
Please do.
Please do, because everything does change
Yeah.
quite often, so if we need to update things and we miss something, we love
Got
to
it.
know.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good thing. This is a good tip at the bottom here. Packing peanuts aren't recyclable, however, there's a lot of stores that do accept those back into their program. So those are kind of some of the bigger box stores like Target, Walmart, those types of places. If you ask, some of them may take those. Keep food out of your recycling, of course. You want to scrape out all the cans and jars. You want to empty all the liquids and put all the scraps in your compost, if you have compost. That also can contaminate the load. No soiled paper, we kind of talked about this before, but I get a lot of questions from kids when I do the programs or when we talk at the fair with them about they want to recycle their napkins and their paper towels and their plastic forks and all of those types of things, but we can't accept those. They're just not recyclable. When they're that soiled, it's very hard to recover the paper fibers that are in those products. So keep those out. You can recycle the tubes on your toilet paper and your paper towels, so you can definitely put those in as long as they're not soiled or wet. And here's where we're talking about some of the food items that you can empty, recycle: your milk cartons, your juice boxes, and your food cartons. Those ones usually you don't need to rinse them out too much. They're ready to go as they are. Usually when you empty them out, they're pretty good. If you feel like it's milk or something like that, you can always rinse it and make sure that it's kind of clean. And then pizza boxes, cardboard pizza delivery boxes. As long as you don't have a lot of grease in them, you can put them in recycling. And did I already talk about the 25%? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So I won't go over that again. I've seen a lot of pizza places now in town. They're starting to put a liner underneath the pizza, which is kind of cool because it's kind of stopping the grease from getting to the cardboard, so that way you can just kind of roll up the greasy part and throw it in the trash, and then it helps the cardboard a little bit. So kind of shout out to some of those pizza places that are starting to do that. Of course, no needles or sharp things in recycling. Because the recycling is going back to a facility that's being handled by people, we don't want them to be injured or be subjected to any hazardous stuff there. So even though your needle may be metal, we don't want to see it in the recycling. And we've seen some other items, just odd, long metal sharp things. If you have anything like that, cut it down. I can't remember what they normally say. I think like 12 inches or less.
I think you're right, 12 inches.
That's helpful. Or if you have a lot of metal that you think could, either damage equipment or a person, then you can always take that out to the transfer station, and there's ways that will recover that metal as well. All right, that's pretty much it. Do you guys have more questions?
So take me through, like, I envision people like with gloves on a conveyor belt going through all the recycling. Is that how it works?
I believe that's how they do it. Yeah. I'll have to double check on that, but I know they have a conveyor belt and there's different systems. So I know like some of the metal things, they have large magnets that just pull all the metal up, and then they can start pulling out the plastics from other places and the paper and that type of thing. So there's different processes depending on the facility.
So the recycling that Spencer collects goes to a different facility?
It does, yeah. So a couple different facilities. It goes to Lamar's, and there is it's Van's Recycling there in Lamar's that takes our recycling. We have a contract with them to recycle that stuff. And then the glass, of course, goes to Ripple Glass in Kansas City, and they reuse that stuff for, they make new bottles from it, and they also make a lot of insulation with that used glass. So the glass that we're doing here in Spencer is making insulation for your home that you can purchase later.
Yeah, I think some of the eastern cities, whatever, in our territory, go to Shamrock in Emmitsburg
Yeah.
recycling, which then we go to where our best market is.
Yeah. So we're trying to work, Dan and I both, kind of are under the umbrella of the Northern Plains Regional Planning Area, and that's 4 counties. So we're trying to kind of branch out to other counties too, to help them start recycling programs and to educate people about how they can recycle locally and how they can start their own recycling in their own communities and stuff. So we're really excited about
Yeah, it's
kind of
process.
expanding beyond Spencer and Clay County too.
Right.
So you're talking that to build a cell is like $1 million. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
realize how big a part of the budget
Oh, it's
landfill
huge,
is.
huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, really big. Yeah, it's surprising. I didn't, I had no idea when Price started working there either that it is that much, but yeah, it really is.
Yeah. I think that's one of the important things, like, you know, we think about the environmental aspect of putting the garbage in the, you know, in the ground, but we don't always talk about the money that's spent when we know it's our tax dollars that, you know, are funding these things. You know, it becomes a little more important to be like, you know, yes, we want to keep Dan employed, but how much do we need to put in that landfill?
Right.
Do we need to put 3 tons
Exactly.
a day in the landfill? Can we dial it back and try to, you know, reuse those materials in different ways? And,
Right.
and that's what we're trying to do.
You know, and we take a lot of you know, we don't take cardboard, but if it's dirty, we really don't have a choice. See, like a packing plant, if there's any blood on the cardboard at all, you know, it's dirty, we have to take it. So, I mean, there's so much waste that there's gotta be a way to get rid of it, but yeah, it's sad.
Is the recycling program just for Spencer for Clay County, or can somebody in rural Clay County bring in recycling to the transfer
Yeah, rural
station?
can bring it in too.
I'm not 100% sure on how the transfer station has that part set up. I believe that they can bring it in if they're in Clay County. It gets kind of tricky because even though we're in the Northern Plains regional planning area, there are certain communities and cities that aren't within that. So it kind of depends.
So to double check, yes, yeah.
Yeah. It's a good question though.
Well, like, we made a list at our staff meeting today of things to ask you.
Oh,
but-
good.
So, like, plastic kids' toys. Is that not okay, plastic?
That's a really hard one.
Like all those play
I-
school, like, basketball hoops and play structures.
Yeah.
Or
I would
just
say
even,
no on that, but
Yeah,
they're smaller plastic toys.
I would say no on those.
we can find out.
But we can find out.
Yeah, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But really, you know, if they're still usable, the best thing is to donate
Right,
them or to
Yeah,
reuse them in a different
yeah.
way or try to repurpose them too.
And we also wondered about like packing plastic. I know you said bubble wrap, no, but like if it comes like when we order books,
Mhm.
it might come wrapped in plastic inside the cardboard box.
So
And we've been throwing that plastic away since you're not taking plastic sacks in the recycling,
Right. So I would either continue to do that, or you can check with Hy-Vee or Walmart and see if they accept those in their bag drops. A lot of those big boxes do, you know, will recycle that plastic film. So, but sometimes you just have to ask just to make sure.
Okay.
Good questions. Any more?
Well, the reason I would put my garbage in a bag, and I, of course, use a little grocery bag I live by myself,
Yeah.
would be so if something happens and we don't blow the thing over and my garbage is down the street about a block and a half. So it's a funny feeling to think I should throw it in there loose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's such a change of, after
It
50
is.
years.
Yeah, and it's hard, it is, and it can be hard
Exactly.
because like you put your garbage in your bag and you do want to keep your
just
garbage
take it right out of it.
contained, yeah. But the recycling, yeah, you should try to keep it loose and,
And we live in a windy area.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah, but I can my garbage. I can put my garbage in a bag and put it in my garbage can.
yes, your garbage, definitely bag your
Oh, I
garbage,
thought
yes,
nothing-
no,
we should-
yes,
no
definitely bag
no
your
bag,
garbage, yes.
Oh,
Don't bag recyclables, bag
Bag
garbage.
garbage, okay.
Correct, yep.
like it. Otherwise I'd have stuff at the bottom of my finger down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's probably nothing to do with you guys and the picking up part of it. I live to where the curb is a little, my front ditch between my sidewalk and my curb is a little bit slanted. And it's kind of a little tricky where to put a garbage can in because it's only one approach to two families. The driveway is like approach and a half.
Right.
Don't want to block that at all either. How far from my house can I set it over next to the neighbors?
Yeah, as long as you have 5 feet in between your container and the neighbor's container, that gives enough room for the machine to kind of reach through, grab it and pull it up and then be able to put it back down. So you just want to make sure you have 5 feet around it and then just as close to the curb as you can because that's coming out from the truck, so.
Mine's generally sitting back up and standing and stuff, so it isn't
Yeah,
a big problem.
yeah, we
It's that way
have
around.
we have a small driveway where we're at too, and our neighbor is pretty much right up next to us too, and we put them right next to each other, right on the grass, honestly. And then we just make sure that we have, you know, enough space between their container and
5
ours.
foot, yeah, 5 foot might be a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you guys for
Thanks
coming.
for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I think recycling is fun.
It's a challenge. A lot of fun, it's a challenge.
I was like,
You learn as you go.
Right,
Yeah.
you do.
got that on
Or old habits, hard to break.
Right, right.
Best thing is the two cans in the closet next to each other. That's great, the best.
Yeah, I had to do that or I wasn't gonna do it. Like my husband has always been really good at recycling and I've always been not good. He always yelled at me.
He's come from a different area to
Right away,
where
right?
they handle things different, or maybe his parents did or something. When he was growing up, did he have that habit?
I have no idea. No, I don't think his parents did. No, I don't believe so. He just started doing it. Because we have the blue bin, I think he just started and he's like, why are you putting it in the blue bin? And then when I got this job, then I got the 2 containers and I started like Dan, thinking about what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's easy.
It's easy,
not a big
yeah.
that
Yeah.
part of it's not.
Can you get additional containers in? Can you rent or buy?
I think you can buy them, I'm not sure.